Oh, hello. Welcome back to the Tricks for Cash YouTube channel. Very different video today. No gimmicks, no edits, no memes, just me talking to the camera. All my videos are for me, and I make them for my own enjoyment, and if people watch them, great. If not, whatever. This one especially, though, is pretty much just for me. But I wanted to post it in case there's anyone else out there going through a similar thing or that can relate to this in any way. And then also for myself to look back on this in a week or 2 weeks, 5 years from now, and put things in perspective and be able to compare how I was feeling now versus how I'll be feeling then. So yeah, as you could tell by the title, I am having surgery on my hip, and it's not the first time I've had surgery on this hip, and hopefully it's the last. I've been dealing with this hip since I think like 2017 is when it first started to really pop up and be a problem. So I'm just gonna talk through this entire experience and kind of get that off my chest, put it out there, and then I'll be able to look back on this, like I said, and see how I feel in comparison in the future versus right now. So started in 2017. I was in college. Was playing soccer probably like 3 to 5 days a week because I had access to do it. We had a rec center where you could go pretty much any time of day and there would be someone there playing. So there was always pickup games going on. So I was playing pickup like a couple days a week, and then also I was on intramural teams. So all that added together, I was playing soccer, but probably 4 or 5 days a week. And I had been playing soccer since I was 4. So nothing new there really. And I started to notice, like, after I would play, that my hip in the back of my hip kind of and it would be really tight. It would get like tight and knotted up a little bit. Nothing like severe, just like more so than my right hip. So I just started like stretching after I would play and do like a 20-minute stretch. That would take care of it. Cool. You should probably stretch after you exercise anyway. That's a healthy habit to build. So I was like, oh, okay, well, sort of forcing me to improve my health here, really. So no issues there for a while. I was 2017. Then by the time I graduated in 2018, it had progressed and it was getting worse. Still only really bothered me after I would exercise. But then by the time I graduated in 2018, it had built to where, all right, now no matter if I exercise or not that day, I still need to do like a 30-minute stretch to be comfortable enough to fall asleep that night. But still, a 30-minute stretch every day, that's not bad, Like, I can work with that. But then over the summer of 2018, it really started to get worse after I graduated. Now that 30-minute stretch wasn't good enough. Now it's becoming uncomfortable to sit for long periods of time. It's not so much like a specific pain. It's more of just a discomfort, and it's getting tight and like knotted up. So that summer, I started seeing different doctors after I'd come home from school. Saw a couple different doctors, sports medicine physicians. Nobody could really pinpoint like what was going on, because they would do these tests where, they move your leg in certain positions, that type of thing, and nothing hurt. It wasn't specific movements. And during physical activity, no issues at all, felt great. It's just after I would stop, it would start to build up, and like it would get really inflamed and knotted up and tight and stiff and uncomfortable. And so I would have to do, like, every time I would exercise, I'd have to do like an hour of recovery stuff afterwards, like stretch, massage, ice. I had this like massage ball that I would like rub around on that area, roll it around, and then I would ice, and that would be fine. But you know, if I'm only exercising for an hour and then I've also got to do an hour of recovery afterwards, then you know that starts to build up. And then you know, if I'm playing soccer, that's a 90-minute match plus the time it takes to get there and home, and then another hour after to do all that, plus you got to stretch and eat after, or shower and eat afterwards too. So we're looking at like 4 hours of my day is spent on that. So doctors can't really pinpoint what's going on, so they put me in physical therapy, which helped a little, but I still had to do all of the recovery stuff after I would exercise. Like, it didn't get rid of that at all. It just built up a little bit of strength in that area and calmed down some of the discomfort, but not enough to where I could cut down on like my recovery stuff at all, really. So then they did an injection into my SI joint. Nothing, it didn't really do anything. And then I was racking up some medical bills through all this, and it got to the point where I was like, I can't afford to keep doing this. So I was like, I'll just manage it on my own, whatever. So did that until 2020 when COVID hit. No change. I still played adult league because that time I had graduated, so I wasn't doing intramurals anymore. I was playing adult league, and I got played through 2019, 2 seasons, and I mean, I did it, but it wasn't great. Like, while I was playing, no issues at all. I could sprint, I could turn, no pain whatsoever. But the second I stepped off the field and stopped, like knots and stuff started to build up, the inflammation, it would like throb. So then COVID hit in 2020, and I was like, okay, I can't play soccer, there is no soccer, so let me just rest and see if it will heal with me not doing any exercise. So I was like, I'll do the stretches and recovery stuff, and let's just see if it heals with me not like doing any running and activity like that. So that was beginning of 2020 when COVID hit. So all of 2020 I would just do like probably 30 minutes a day of stretching at the end of the day, and use the little massage ball, and then at that point I had an acupressure mat that I would lay on right before bed, like to fall asleep. And that, you know, it wasn't getting worse, but it also wasn't getting better. And then as 2020 progressed, like towards the end of 2020 and early 2021, still like no exercise because, you know, there's no soccer going on really. And that was really the only way I wanted to exercise at the time. That was like the only way of exercise I had done my entire life. That's all I knew. So I was just like, if I'm not playing soccer, I'm not exercising. There is no other exercise. So then, early 2021, by then it started to get worse. And then like that 30-minute stretch and like massage and stuff, then that turned into 45 minutes, that turned into an hour. Now I've got to do 2 sets a day. Now I'm up to 3 sets a day. By the time it got like really, really bad in the spring, by the spring of 2021, summer of 2021. By then, I was doing like 5 sets of stretches a day. Like in total, I was probably spending 4 I would say like 4 hours or so every single day, no matter what, just like stretching and like recovery stuff. I got a Theragun, I would use that every day on it. And it was the same thing. It wasn't like a specific like pain. Like it wasn't like any movement was painful. Like I could move around. It would lock up and it would get stiff, and these knots would build up all throughout like the back of my hip, into my lower back. And it was just so uncomfortable. I couldn't sit for more than like 20 minutes at a time at that point. And then that spring I had went and saw I saw more doctors, and they were like, all right, there's one guy you haven't seen yet. He is like the hip guru. If he can't figure it out, we don't know what to tell you at this point. So I go see him, and up until this point, the only imaging that had been done were x-rays. There was no MRI up to this point, and no one had even suggested it. And so the first thing when I go see him, he's like, well, I see you haven't had any MRIs at this point. We need to do that immediately. Like, that should have already been done. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I don't know. I'm just doing what they tell me. And so he does an MRI, and we find out I have a torn labrum and a tiny, it's almost not even worth mentioning because it was so small, benign tumor, probably due to all the trauma in that area that had been left untreated for years. So he was like, you've got 3 options here, or no, you've got a couple options here, basically. We can try physical therapy, which I know you've already done before, but now that we actually have a diagnosis on what the injury is and like the most likely root cause of all these problems, they'll be able to target that and give you much more helpful physical therapy. So you can do physical therapy. There's several different injections we can try. And then if none of that works, or if you want to go straight to it, we can do surgery. And I was like, right now at this moment of my life, I am terrified of surgery. I don't want to do surgery if we don't have to. He's like, yep, no problem. So I start physical therapy, and we do a series of different injections, like steroid injections, things like that, from the spring all the way up through into the summer of 2021, and nothing really helps. There was a couple injections that gave me like temporary relief, but nothing really noticeable. So it got to the point by that summer, he was like, I mean, nothing's working. The most likely helpful scenario at this point is going to be surgery. That's really the only thing left you haven't done that will most likely fix it. And I was like, all right, cool. I need to know, like, I need to know everything to expect. And he was like, all right, based on everything I've seen, there is a 90% chance that surgery will take care of everything. And I was like, all right, that's really all I need to hear. Let's just do it. There's clearly nothing else we can try that we haven't already. So, had the surgery in September of 2021. They went in and repaired the labrum, fixed the tear, reshaped the bones a little bit, and took out all the inflammation and stuff in that area, just cleaned it up. And after the surgery, he was like, I've done surgery on a lot of people, even NFL players, and he's like, it wasn't the worst tear I've ever seen, but he was like, that was some of the worst inflammation I've ever seen. He was like, I could tell that had been in there for a while. So essentially that entire time I had a torn labrum, but because of all the stretching and stuff I was doing, I was still able to move around, and there wasn't like a specific like sharp pain or stuff that I was getting. And because of all the recovery stuff I was doing, it was blocking like the typical symptoms that you would have. And I remember when I went and saw one of the first doctors that I saw during that whole process in like 2018, she was doing like the movement test, like putting my leg in specific situations. And she was like, yeah, you're not showing any like typical symptoms of like a torn labrum or anything like that. And fast forward 3 years, I had a torn labrum the whole time, but because of all the stuff I was doing to maintain it, I wasn't showing those typical symptoms. So yeah, had the surgery September 2021, and I was terrified going into it. And also, they were like, yeah, we'll call you the day before to let you know when to be there. And I'm like, okay, that seems sort of last minute. You just gonna call me the day before and tell me what time I need to be there for like the biggest operation I've ever had in my life? This is my first surgery. I'm terrified. Like, I need you to tell me everything way in advance here so I can prepare for this mentally. But yeah, they were like, yeah, we'll call you the day before. I'm like, okay. So I have no idea They were like, you could be there as early as 5:30 in the morning. And I was like, oh God, like why? That's something that I'm like, look, I know how I feel when I wake up at 5:30 in the morning, and you got to be there at 5:30. So that means you're waking up at like 4:30. I know how I feel when I wake up that early. I don't want anybody cutting into my body and digging around in there having woken up that early. I know there's those Mark Wahlberg people that are like, oh yeah, you gotta wake up before the sun and you've gotta do all this before everyone else is awake so you can get ahead. And I'm like, but if I'm also awake for the same amount, you're going to bed at 7 p.m. or whatever, like I'm awake the same amount of time you're awake. So it doesn't matter what time we wake up, we're still awake for the same amount of time. So I've never understood that philosophy at all. But I know there's people out there like that. So I'm like, well, I hope my doctor is coming in well rested, you know? But I mean, obviously that's their schedule. So I'm sure they're like on that sleep schedule, whatever. But still, I'm like, I don't think we could probably wait till the sun comes up before we start cutting people open for the day, you know? But anyway, surgery goes well, no issues at all. And I was so nervous going back. They put you on the bed, like out in like in a, it was just like curtains and like these little sections blocked off by curtains, and you're just in this wheeling bed in like it's just like a waiting situation. And then they wheel you, you're on that bed the whole time, and then they wheel you back on that bed to the operating room. And you walk into the operating room, and it's just the brightest room I've ever been in my life, which, great, they need to be able to see, that makes sense. But you're also like, you're laying on your back, so you're looking up at the lights. I'm like, can we do something about this? But I remember as I'm starting to become aware of like everything going on in the room once I got in there and settled down and as best I could. And then I start to realize there's music playing in the room. And the song that was playing as I realized there was music playing was Mr. Brightside. And that was the most oddly calming, like that was the perfect song. I could not have been more happy to hear that song, because I was like, if I go out, like if I don't wake up from this, then that means that the last thing that I will hear on this earth is Mr. Brightside. And that is the funniest thing to me. Like, that was so perfect, and that oddly calmed me down. And then I was like, all right, cool, all right, I can deal with this. But then right as I get calmed down by hearing that, there's, doctors and nurses all over and getting things prepped. There's two of them right behind my head, and I hear one of them say to the other, hey, is it 0.5 or 1.5? And I'm like, I don't want to hear any uncertainty in this room right now. Let's refer to a textbook, maybe. You guys got something you can check real quick? And the other one was like, I think it's 1.5. And then the other one was like, all right, I'll just go with that then. And I'm like, that was literally the last thing I heard before, because they were putting something into the machine that was hooked up to my IV to like put me under. And that was the last thing I heard was, I think it's 1.5. And then I went under. And like there was that split moment before I went under, between hearing that and then going under, and I was like, I'm about to die. But I didn't. I woke up. And I woke up to just like the sweetest lady in the room, one of the nurses. And like the millisecond my eyes opened, she was like, oh good, you're awake, would you like a cookie? And I was like, let me figure out where I am real quick, and then maybe then offer me a cookie. Give me a little wake up window here. I just came out of a coma essentially, and you immediately offered me a cookie. I appreciate that, but just give me a minute here. So accepted the cookie though. And which was an absolute lie. It wasn't a cookie. It was one of those like Biscoff things, like the
packaged thing. Yeah, those aren't cookies. Don't call that a cookie. That's a disgrace to all cookies to call that a cookie. They're not bad, but they're not cookies. You know what I mean? So we go through those first like 10 days after surgery, and it felt better than it had felt in years. It felt so good. It was weird because I expected to be in more pain after the surgery than before, just because I don't know anything about surgery. That's like when you hear about a surgery, you're like, oh yeah, it's like you got this whole recovery process. It's painful, it's annoying, it's time consuming, but they didn't tell me like what to expect pain wise coming out. So I just naturally expected like, oh, I'm gonna be in more pain. Was in almost no pain whatsoever after the surgery. It felt looser and more comfortable than it had ever felt. Now I couldn't walk on it, I couldn't put any pressure on it, but just at rest it felt so much better. And I like the relief I got when I woke up and was feeling that was like, oh my god. And then it just kept. I was like, all right, you know, this is probably just because I'm still like, I still got the anesthesia running through me, I'm still kind of numb a bit. No, that was how it felt for like the first 10 days. Now, I did have to be in this, God, I really don't know how to describe it. I'll try and find a picture and put it up, but I don't think I took any pictures of it. But it was just this like real riggedy contraption. Like it was not constructed for appeal. This was strictly for function. But essentially you put your leg in it and then it would like bend and straighten your leg back and forth very slowly, and it had to be in that for 8 hours a day, which is a lot of hours. That's a chunk of the day. And I could not bend past 120 degrees for the first week or two, and then after that I could come up to 90, and then after like a month I could go like whatever angle I wanted. Also had to sleep with my feet just straight, and they had to be like strapped in. There's like, so here's my feet. There was like a foam cylinder that would squish between my feet, and then that would get strapped around that so that like I slept like a pencil. Could not move. Unless I could either sleep like that or I could sleep in the contraption that moved your leg. But I don't know if you know much about sleeping, but it's hard to sleep when you're moving, at least for me. So, you know, sleeping wasn't fun, but I was just so relieved to not have to. I was oddly comfortable considering all that compared to how I was feeling before. And then I fell. It was middle of the night. I didn't want to wake my girlfriend up. Go down to get water. We got these really steep steps in our apartment at the time, and I was very comfortable on my crutches at the time, so that's why I didn't bother waking her up. I was like, oh, I can do it. Like I go up and down these every single day, no issues so far. So, just slipped. Just complete accident. Slipped, fell straight down onto my butt, which was probably the best way I could have fallen. But I hit, and I felt a sharp pain in my hip, and I felt a pop, and I was like, oh, all right, it's game over. I just messed up the entire surgery, and they're gonna have to go back in, and we're gonna have to go through all this again and restart from scratch. These last 10 days, I just threw them all out the window. So I had physical therapy scheduled for that next day. It was like middle of the night, so I was like, you know what, just go back to sleep before you can even process what just happened. So got back up, got back into bed, went back to sleep. Next morning, and I woke up and I was like, okay, it's not feeling too bad. All right, maybe I didn't mess anything up. And then within like an hour of being up, all those symptoms from before the surgery had come back full force. The knot and discomfort in the back of the hip, all that inflammation and stuff, it was all back like it had never been gone. So that was incredibly defeating, both mentally and physically. My physical therapist did his best to kind of massage it down, get it back under control. Then I went and saw the doctor on, that was a Friday, so then I had to go the whole weekend like that. I saw the doctor on Monday, and he moved me around. He did whatever, I just like put my leg in different positions and stuff, and he was like, "You're fine." It's like, no, I don't think I am. And he was like, "No, I really think you're fine. I don't, it's not based on the way I'm moving it and stuff. Like, if you had done damage to the surgery site, you wouldn't be able to handle that like you're handling it." I'm like, "Well, I mean, I feel like I do have a higher tolerance to pain than most, but also like I could be completely wrong on that. I don't know, because I can't feel other people's pain." But he was like, "No, I really think I do think this will set you back a little bit in your recovery, but I don't think, because we were looking at like a 9-month recovery going into the surgery. He's like, probably going to be closer to a year now, but I don't think we need to go back in. I think you'll be okay. It's just going to take some extra time to work through it in physical therapy." So I'm like, "I don't know, you're the expert, but I'm the one feeling it. So I know how I feel, but you're telling me I'll be fine. I just got to work through it. It's going to suck for a little bit, but it'll calm back down." So we go through physical therapy for the next couple weeks. I get to, I think around week 6 is when like because after 4 weeks I could walk again and get out of all those contraptions and braces I had to be in. And then around week 6 was going to be like when the strengthening was really going to kick into high gear. And we got up to week 6, and then I couldn't. Once we started adding all the like real strength stuff and not just like moving it around and stuff, mobility, it really flared it up again. It calmed down initially after the fall, but then adding the strength stuff back in, it flared up again, and it was like, oh my god, here we go again. So they do more MRIs. They did 2 MRIs, one on my back, one on my hip. Didn't find anything. And then, so they kind of gave me, like the physical therapist gave me stuff that I could do. And then until it calmed back down. And then he's like, as soon as it calms back down, you need to add that strength stuff. It took from, let's see, that fall was in October. It took until, I would say probably February, until it calmed down enough to where I could start doing just like body weight strength stuff. And like walking comfortably again. It did not go well with the recovery. And then slowly throughout 2022, I was like very, very gradually started building back up the strength as it was tolerable. Till like by the end of 2022, I could like walk 100% comfortably. I could I could walk, but I couldn't do any like strength stuff basically. I couldn't run, couldn't do any of that. And then slowly kept getting better throughout 2023. And this whole time I'm seeing different doctors. We're trying more injections. I did PRP. I did like 3 more different injections into my hip. Nothing's really helped. I did like nerve tests. I did blood work. They can't find where the issue is coming from here. That's creating all this discomfort and tightness and stiffness, and it's locking up. If I sit for more than, it's literally all the same issues from before the surgery are back. They're just trying to manage it as best I can. I'm stretching every day, probably 3 times a day, just like I was before. Not quite as much as when it got really bad right before the surgery, but yeah, I'm probably spending 2 hours a day on just like maintaining it. It's not getting better, but I'm doing all this maintenance to keep it from getting worse, basically. So I go through all of 2022, 2023 like that. At the very end of 2023, it got to a point to where I felt like I could finally start like adding weights to like do some real strengthening to it. And so got into the gym. like it was like winter of 2023. It was like November, December-ish. And then, so I had November, December, and then I had like 2 or 3 months, like 2.5 months at the gym, building back up the strength. That was getting better and better. And I was like, all right, now this is where like I'm starting to finally see progress here. And then it got to a point to where it was like I could sit comfortably for, now I'm up to like 2 hours that I can sit comfortably, 2-3 hours. And I'm like, oh God, okay, all right. I can almost sit again. I can sit through one movie now. I can watch a whole movie for the first time in years. Not that I watch movies, but still, that was like the kind of the way my brain was perceiving it. And so I was like, I want to go somewhere. I haven't been anywhere in years. So my girlfriend's friend was turning, I don't know, it was her birthday coming up. She was having a big party she lives in New York. So we went to visit her in New York. It went great. I didn't stretch the entire time I was there. Now I'm only stretching, a couple times a week, instead of a couple times a day. And then, we go to New York. It's great. It was like, there were like 4 days. Didn't stretch the entire time. I would just do like a little, like a 2-3 minute, basically I took like my soccer warm up, like my dynamic warm up, and would just do like a portion of that, like for 2-3 minutes, once or twice a day. And then would have like a heating pad I would lay on right before bed to loosen it up enough to get comfortable to sleep. And then boom, I'm good. So now I can work with this, right? So then we go to New York and then come back, and then I've got a bunch of stuff going on. Basically, I ended up taking like a month off from the gym. And then I went back and I was like, let's take it easy. You've been out of here for, probably 3 weeks, almost an entire month at that point. This is the first time back since then, so let's take it easy. I cut like everything in half. I was like, where did I leave off? Let's cut that in half and then start there. And it wasn't that the weights were too heavy at all. Like I started by cutting it in half, and I was like, oh, okay, this is good. I can handle this. This is fine. I'm not overdoing it. But throughout that workout, it wasn't feeling right. And by the end of the workout, I was like, oof, okay, this isn't good. This isn't good. It's hurting. It's like straight up hurting now. And so go to the doctor the next day, because I'm like, I want to get in there as quick as I can and make sure, I didn't mess anything up. And he moved my leg around and stuff, and he's like, all right, feels like you have strained your hip abductors. And I was like, okay, what does that look like? He's like, it's no problem, don't worry, this will fix itself. Just stay out of the gym for 3 to 6 weeks, and keep you can still run, you can do that, but don't do any stay off the hip machines. You can do arms and stuff like that, but don't do any squats or rotation things. Pretty much anything lower body, just stay out of that pretty much, unless it's running. So I tried doing another workout based around with those restrictions. I gave it a week of healing, and I would ice and stretch, and gave it about a week or two. Went back to the gym, tried stuff again, not in that area, just arms and upper body stuff, and tried to run a little bit, but it's not doing well. And he's like, within 3 to 6 weeks, it should heal itself. It had not. After 4 or 5, it was actually getting worse. So I go back, and he's like, I don't know. Give it more time. And I'm like, this isn't right. Something's not right here. So I go and go to a different doctor in a different network that I had never been to before to get a completely fresh opinion on this. He was like, have they done any imaging? And I was like, no. I was like, well, let's do an x-ray and an MRI. And I was like, awesome. X-ray is fine, no fractures. MRI comes back, and degenerative tearing and fraying of the anterior labrum. and also femoral something impingement. And they were like, yeah, you need surgery. I was like, cool. How did I do this at the gym? Because I did not feel all that while I was there. There wasn't like a specific moment. It was just like slowly throughout the workout, it was feeling not right. And he was like, oh no, this is like, a lot of this has been going on for a while. Like, there's no way you could have just done this at the gym, a month ago. There's a lot going on in there that has been building for a long time. And I was like, okay. Is it possible? And then I went through the whole spiel about everything that I just went through with right here, about what happened after the surgery with the fall and all that. And he was like, there's probably no way you'll ever know for sure, but it is a completely reasonable theory that when you fell after the surgery, that's when all this started. And the MRIs that they did after the surgery, they did not use contrast. This MRI that I had at this other place, the most recent one that found all the stuff that I'm having surgery on now, that was the first MRI I've ever had with contrast. And when I had it, I was like, oh, this is the first one I've ever had with contrast. And they were like, wait, those ones that you had earlier, they didn't use contrast? And I was like, no, I've never had one with contrast before. And they were like, oh, well, that they could have missed a lot by not doing that. Apparently, doing it with contrast, you can see a lot more. I don't know how it works, just going off what they said. So the current working theory is that I did mess it up after I fell. Those MRIs were not done with contrast. It wasn't severe enough at that specific time because it had just happened. And I had not been on it enough to like really do some damage to it, but it probably did start there, and they didn't catch it because they didn't use the MRI with contrast, so it didn't show the level of detail needed to catch what had started then and then progressed over those next couple of years. So, all that said, having another surgery, very hopeful. I'm actually really excited to have this because I'm in a lot of pain at the moment. I am stretching 3 times a day again, but I've also found out throughout this whole process, I've been in therapy, and I found out that I have OCD, and that was contributing to all of the stretching and recovery stuff I was doing before. It was like an obsession. It was like I had to do it at these specific times for this amount of time, and I had to hold, I had to do this many sets, and I had to hold it for this amount of time, and I had to do it this many times a day, and it had to be at this exact time, or it wasn't gonna work, or I couldn't go here, or I couldn't do that. And now I am stretching 3 times a day, and I do have general guidelines of, I would like to stretch around this time. But if I'm busy and can't do it, then okay, well, I'll just push it back a little bit, or I'll do it a little earlier, or I'll skip 1 set today and make up for it at some point. Like, it's not like an obsession. And I'm not stretching for 45 minutes each time. It's 15, 30 minutes each time. And I'm not using the Theragun every single time I stretch too. I'm using it once a week, or whatever. So I feel so much better, especially mentally going into this. And this time it's not just the torn labrum, and they're actually not even sure how bad the labrum is. After I got those MRI results, they were like, this is above our pay grade. You need to go back to your guy at the other place that's dealt with you. So go back to him. And now that he sees the MRI, he's like, oh my God, hold on. We gotta stop everything. Let's get you into surgery. I totally see why you're in all this pain. This all makes sense. Yes, they should have done with contrast before, but that was when I've seen so many doctors. This doctor that I'm seeing that's doing the surgery now is probably my favorite one that I've seen. He's been the most helpful in terms of like offering up actual solutions rather than just like, I don't know, or like, we'll send you to the next person. So I'm very hopeful that this will fix everything, and I'm not gonna fall this time. So there shouldn't be any issues. But It's not just the labrum. He's looking at the MRI. He's like, I don't know that we'll have to do anything to the labrum, because he's like, yes, I totally get why they put like degenerative and tearing and fraying of the labrum, but they don't know like the whole history of it. They're just seeing that for the first time, and they're not understanding, like they're not hip experts like this guy is. So he's like, as a hip specialist, your labrum kind of does look how it should based on this amount of time after surgery and the issues that you've had. But I won't know for sure until I get in there, so I may have to do some work on it. It may be fine. Again, won't know until I'm actually in there. So because of that, and there's just a lot of uncertainty. So he's like, I don't want to tell you like your recovery is going to be this amount of time or this or whatever. Let me get in there, take a look, and after the surgery, I'll be able to give you a better idea of like what your long-term outcome looks like with recovery and everything. I do know that I won't have to be in any of those contraptions this time. I'll only be on crutches, non-weight bearing for 2 weeks instead of a whole month. I can sleep however, whatever position I want. So restrictions are way looser this time around. So that's so good to hear, because it was so restrictive after that last surgery, and it put so much on everyone around me, like my girlfriend, my parents. They had to do the recovery for me. None of the stuff up until like I could walk again, that whole first month, literally 3 times a day, they had to do the movements to me. I couldn't do anything based on the restrictions. He was like, you basically can't move your leg on your own. If I got out of bed, I had to, with my hands and arms, lift my leg and put it out on the edge of the bed and then turn. Like you basically just could not use your entire left leg for 4 weeks, which is, I did not realize how restrictive that would be. So a lot different this time around, way less restrictions. So I'm very excited, and I'm actually, this go around, I'm actually in, they're like specific, it is painful. It's very painful at the moment. Bending over, basically just bending past like 90 degrees, that impingement that I'm having, I can literally feel the bones at the joint just grinding as I bend. So that's the main issue they're gonna fix. They're gonna reshape the bones, make them fit properly at the joint, go in, take out all the inflammation and everything in that area. There's a lot of debridement, they said, from the complications from the first surgery. So they're just gonna go in, clean everything up, reshape the bones, and then check on the labrum, see if there's anything that needs to be done with that. And then we'll see after surgery what the recovery needs to be. But yeah, it's a relief to finally have an answer after 3 years of just trying to figure it out on my own. At least there's some type of solution, and I'm only a few days away from that now. So we're in the home stretch. I'm very excited. I've recorded a bunch of videos that I can, because I should be able to edit while I'm out recovering, but I won't be able to stand and do these videos. So I went ahead and recorded a bunch so I have a bunch to edit. So I'm excited to work on these videos while I'm out. And yeah, got the bill already. So it's not, it's a lot. It's not as much as I thought it was gonna be, but it is more money than I've ever had in my life. So, but it's medical bills, so it doesn't go on your credit immediately. I can set up a payment plan, all that. But it would be super cool if you, shameless plug, if you went over to kookiecollectibles.com and bought some cards from us on there. That would be fantastic. I've been working to get more cards added on there. I've got a bunch more that I still got to add. So yeah, check out kookiecollectibles.com for me. Buy some cards. Still really, like, my number one goal in life is to, well, I wouldn't, maybe it's not number one at this moment. My long-term goal is still to have my own Pokemon card shop one day, like physical location. I'd still need, got to do a lot more sales first before I can open up a physical place and deal with all those expenses. So yeah, check out kookiecollectibles.com and buy some cards, please. So yeah, that's what's going on in my life at the moment. If you're still watching this, if you've sat through this whole thing, phenomenal. You're the greatest human being that's ever lived. And shoot me a message. I'll send you a promo code for the website, or I'll do something. Because yeah, if you've sat through this whole thing, wow, love it, incredible, thank you. But yeah, I just wanted to do this to get this out, put it out there, get it out of my brain. I've talked about it in therapy for weeks, but also this is another therapeutic outlet I have as well through these videos. So I wanted to put it out in a video, put it on my channel, and I can go back, after the surgery and see how it compares, see how I'm feeling then versus how I'm feeling now, and kind of put things in perspective. And then also, we can look at this in a year's time, in 2 years' time, and see how I'm progressing. I'll probably do some content based around the recovery, again, just for the same purpose of me being able to track the progress and see it and put things in perspective. That is one thing I've talked a lot about in therapy, is like taking the time to reflect and look back and see the progress that I've made. So this will help with that a lot. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'm gonna go get my hip fixed now. So I'll see you soon. Okay, I gotta go. Oh wait, yeah, instead of like I'm gonna go karate chop a small child, whatever nonsense outro I normally end on, I'm gonna go get my hip fixed. See you later.